right, I would like to call the Rockaway Borough Land Use Board to order. And our first order of business is a pledge of allegiance. All rise, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Open Public Meeting Act statement of adequate notice. I hereby announce and state that adequate notice of this meeting was provided by the Secretary of the Rockaway Borough Land Use Board by preparing a notice dated January 7, 2025, specifying the time, date, and place of this meeting, posting such notice on the bulletin board of Borough Hall, filing said notice with the clerk of the County of Morris, and publishing the notice in the Daily Record newspaper. I hereby hand a copy of such notice to the Secretary of the Borough of Rockaway Land Use Board for inclusion with the minutes of this meeting, all above being in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 et cetera, Open Public Meeting Act, and I'm Ken Blair, the chairperson. Next thing, I'm taking my phone and I'm putting it in airplane mode. Hopefully everyone will follow suit. And I'd like everyone to note that in the event that there is an emergency and we have to leave the building, there is an exit ahead of you to your right or behind you to your left. And the board has determined that no new cases will be heard after 9:30 and no testimony after 10 p.m., although we do have the ability to change that and extend if we need to. And may we please have a roll call?
Mayor Tom Mulligan is absent. Ken Vanborg is absent. Joyce Fryerman. Here. Tom Hammond.
Here.
Bill Huffler.
Here.
Mark Howard.
Here.
Councilman Curley is absent. Barbara Koch.
Here.
Bennett Leonard is absent. Bob Schaefer.
Here.
Tim Rose.
Here.
Chairman Blair.
Here. Thank you very much. We have received copies of the minutes of the February 26th meeting. We need a motion for those. We have a motion to accept. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion on the minutes?
Are these mics working properly?
Something is wrong because of.
Because I tap on them and you don't hear it coming through.
How is the recorded meeting going?
It looks okay.
It's flashing. Maybe they didn't get properly charged.
Yeah,
No, but they're all flashing, you can't imagine them all.
Just speak up.
It must be. How is the recording going for the meeting?
It's little green, not much.
Because if it's not being recorded, then you can't have the meeting.
No. It's gotta be some kind of a master programming glitch.
If
somewhere.
you're tapping on, I'm tapping on.
Let's
Usually
try-
you're through the.
Let's try turning them all off.
That all stands
As the IT guy says.
Get it in there.
Restart.
My battery's showing full on this.
Yeah.
Battery's full.
Yeah, battery's full. Maybe
I turned it off.
You say welcome.
No?
Wish I knew what I was looking at in there.
Yeah.
There's a router of some sort, and
Maybe restart.
maybe it translates.
Usually if you have it on, and the little red light's on, you tap on this, you can hear it through the speakers, and that's not happening. So
Yeah, can you
usually
cycle
when I
that
get,
call?
when I get signal,
Hit a button.
Let's try it. Everybody reset. Yeah,
Where?
no, still, oh, there it goes.
no,
I'm solid red now, but it's not red up at the microphone.
Yeah, it's solid now.
solid red.
Try it
now,
out.
turn
I
it
just
off.
hit another button.
There we go.
There we go.
Thank you.
Hello,
Hello.
good evening,
Back.
and welcome.
Good job. Good troubleshooting.
All right. Sorry about the delay. Thank you very much, Colleen, for getting that to
That's
us.
right, we do it all.
So we have the minutes from the February 26th meeting. We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. Is there any discussion? Does anyone object to accepting the minutes as written? Seeing none, will the secretary please cast a unanimous ballot for those minutes? Next order of business, we have a resolution LUB 101 from 285 Franklin Avenue. We've all received copies of the resolution before the meeting, so again, we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve?
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Is there any discussions? Seeing none, will we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay, Joyce Fryerman? Joyce?
Yes.
Ron Hammond?
Yes.
Phil Hoffler?
Yes.
Mark Howard?
Yes.
Barbara Koch?
Yes.
Bob Schaefer?
Yes.
Kim Rose?
Yes.
Chairman Blair?
Yes, thank you very much. The resolution is approved, is done. Thank you, John.
Wonderful, you're welcome.
And the next order of business is application LUB 104, 11 Wall Street. This is a continuation of this application. And we have received copies of the additional or the revised documents that were sent out regarding this. And Counselor, we'd like to turn it back over to you, Counselor.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Michael Higgins on behalf of the applicant. Mr. Burke unfortunately had a conflict this evening, but I'm covering him in an effort to help expedite. So this is a continuation hearing. I understand the board got through most of the testimony last time. However, there were a few questions and a few comments. We went back, added a few details to the plans, and got some answers for those questions. So I think the way that I'd like to go through this is to just briefly run through some of those questions with my witnesses, and then we can open it up to the board for any comments or questions on the project.
Thank you very much.
Yes, we could first have the architect, John Giammarino, sworn in. Okay.
He was sworn last time, was he not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Wasn't
he wasn't
here.
here last time.
It wasn't here last
All
time.
right. He's new. If you rise and raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give before this board should be the entire truth?
Yes,
All right, please state your name and business address, please.
John Giammarino, Ramsey, New Jersey.
Thank you.
And John, you're a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey, and your license is current this evening, correct?
Yes, it is.
And you've prepared the plans that you, that the board's reviewed and that have been presented, correct?
Yes,
Yeah, we're happy to accept you as an expert in your field.
thank you.
Okay, so, first there was a question at the last hearing about what lighting is proposed. We've added details on lighting to the plans, is that right? You point the board to that?
I did add some security lighting on the exterior of the building on all sides, including what's facing our neighbor, but they will be on the setback wall. And they have a very low spread, really just lighting up the wall and the section of roof below. Located two on Wall Street, 3 on Main, and 2 by the entrances facing the wall.
And
This is in addition to the decorative fixtures that are located on West Main and Wall, and of course we'll have lighting, the canopies for the 2 doors.
And there's security lighting in the rear as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And there was a question at the last hearing about a ramp for ADA compliance to access the elevator. Is there room to accommodate that?
We have off of Wall Street, we're coming right off the sidewalk. We're going to be at grade, so we won't need a ramp. Coming off the entry in the back, that does have stairs, but we do have accessible from Wall Street.
Okay. And there was another question regarding the masonry wall, whether we were going to replace that or repair that. We were going to repair that wall, is that correct?
Yeah, we're gonna replace the wall that's borders the property in the back. Yeah, I'm sorry, I said repair.
Repair the wall.
Yes.
Okay. And then, we also added a few other details to the plans. There's loading and striping in the back now. Do you point the board to that, what sheet that is?
Did not include striping in the lot. That's something we're still working on.
Excuse me, I misspoke, the loading area, you now, and a stop sign as well, correct?
Yes, I have the details of the stop sign. Showing location, there's a detail on another sheet. And also, I think a mirror was asked for on the corner, which I included as well.
That's 2 weeks.
And I think the last question from the planner's report, that I have at least here to go over is, the street tree. There's room for the street tree, along either street or no?
Well, I think that's something we have to discuss. The sidewalks currently range from 7 to 8 feet. I think there was a 10-foot minimum. I mean, can we, we could
Mr.
do.
Marino, could you pull that microphone closer?
Sure.
It's not you, it's me, my hearing is terrible.
Okay. I was saying, the sidewalks are 7 to 8 feet. You know, we could put, well, I don't know, I don't think that's enough room to get a street tree in and, still have a decent sidewalk. Maybe we could do planters or a live wall. We'll see where, the street slopes down along Main Street. There could be planters, they could easily be relocated, you know, to the second floor patio in the winter or something. So that's something we can include.
At the last meeting, you talked about possibly having the living wall on the Main Street side, because I believe the garden club has planters placed strategically around town. And I don't know how my colleagues feel about that, but I don't know that we need more planters since the sidewalk space is rather limited. So a consideration of the living wall on the Main Street side might be the way to go.
Sure.
Yes.
We talked, you mentioned about being handicapped accessible from the front. One of the questions that one of my co-boards here that's not here tonight, because he was hospitalized, he mentioned that while you may be able to get a handicap guide to the apartments, right? All the apartments have staircases inside them, right? And the bedrooms are upstairs. So if you want to call them handicapped accessible apartments, they're really not handicapped accessible. You can get a handicapped person in if you want to have a cup of coffee with them, you know, but, you know, there's no bathroom on the first floor. There's a powder room, which is just a toilet and a sink, but it's not a full bathroom downstairs, and there's no way to get upstairs. The elevator does go all the way up upstairs, but there's no hallway that runs down the length to get them to all the apartments. It's only at the one end.
Right, yeah, yes, Commissioner, we actually did discuss that. I was planning to have the applicant himself address that in his testimony. But I think we do have a solution. I've seen at times on architects' prepared plans, there'll be a space designated. This can be an ADA bedroom on the first floor. And then it would be implemented as such in the event that you need an ADA accessible unit. And I think we can accommodate that. But we'll go over that more, I think, in the second part. If there's any other questions for the architect, we can happily answer those at this point.
Professionals, any questions? Board members, any other questions?
One more question. We were talking about, you know, maybe some, maybe the
Living wall.
living wall would be nice. Are you gonna do anything on the Wall Street side, potentially, as well?
That is a tough side, because that's where it's only 7 feet. So we do have limited space. Maybe we could do, yeah, maybe we could do something, where we have the breaks in the wall, you know, in between the windows, have something climbing up in that area.
I think that aesthetically that would look nice. You could do something like that.
We could do that. before we go up to professionals, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Gil.
Just one for me. My colleague told us via the planning report. For the lighting, thanks for that. Can you just confirm there are some like foot candle requirements and some temperature requirements that are in our planning report? The lighting that you're proposing is consistent with those requirements and with the corresponding plan requirements?
Yes, in fact, I have a light spread diagram.
Yeah.
For the fixtures, the wall-mounted gooseneck fixtures, they meet the light spread requirements. And then the security lighting, they don't come close to exceeding
Great.
What you have.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions
I think most of my questions have been answered as far as architectural. I just want to make sure that, there was some discussion last time on the dumpster enclosure. Will that be addressed by you or the applicant?
I can address that.
Great. I know last time there were questions because of the location of it. It spanned the property line. I believe we have, resolved that issue?
I moved it, yes.
Okay,
It's
great.
on the property, we'll have a new concrete pad, essentially that's just macadam in that area. It's a new concrete pad and fencing around it.
Okay, so it'll be a fully enclosed dumpster
Fully.
pad in the rear of the property, fully on this applicant's property, which will kind of correct the situation that's there now, where it's
Yeah.
a little haphazard out there. So, one of the board members had asked this question, so I think it's worth discussing. The loading zone behind the, building, it's measured at 23.5 feet, but you also have some stairs and things in there, so it's fairly narrow in there. Is it safe to say that that's really only for one car at a time?
No, you could, for loading one load.
Well, I understand you could stack two cars behind each other, but could you get two cars in and out next to each other is my concern.
Yeah.
You think you can? Okay. And would the safety mirror there, will that help guide cars in and out safely?
Absolutely.
So, I'd like to see that dimension measured on the plan so we can confirm that.
From
From the edge, because right now we have the 23.1 feet, but that goes to the property line, so what's the distance between the wall and really where those metal steps are, because that's where your most narrow point is, but it does widen out to 24.8 as you get further, so it might be around that like 21, 22 foot mark, which you could, cars are about 8 foot wide, so.
we are at, in the back entry.
No.
That's 20 feet.
Got it, okay. And this is generally for, again, loading, deliveries and things like that, these aren't going to be included as parking spaces.
Correct.
Great, okay, thank you for the
Should
confirmation.
you not put a small no parking sign out there? Because if somebody parks there and they go uptown and you have a delivery, you have a problem.
That is true.
Main Street's a county road, yes, it'd be okay. No, in the.
In the lot.
Oh, in the lot, oh, okay.
Or in the loading zone, I'm sorry. it's
No
not-
parking, okay.
No
I
parking,
think that's
loading,
it.
unloading only.
Okay, no
Yeah.
parking, unloading only.
I think that's a very good suggestion, Joyce, and I would recommend that as well, signs on
Because
no
I hate to
parking,
see
loading
people
zone.
coming up and going.
They will.
It should be one way, but if you
They will.
minimize,
Yeah.
then maybe it won't be an issue.
You're correct. Because it's just human nature that someone will park their car there.
Well, no parking and loading, or you'll be towed. Or you'll be towed.
Getting tough.
We like that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board or the professionals? I'd like to open the meeting to the public. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to ask questions about what they've just heard? No testimony, but just time for questions. Seeing none, I close the meeting to the public. Counselor, back to you.
Thank you. Struggling to understand these microphones for some reason today. But, I think, I would like to ask actually one other question of John as he has the plans up. John, can you point to a location where we could accommodate an ADA bedroom? Just to answer the commissioner's question before.
Frank and I discussed creating a dual purpose room.
To which page are you referring?
It's on the second floor plan showing the
A something.
104.
A104. So the unit that's on the corner of Wall and Main, we'll take that living area or a section of that living area, cordon that off, get a closet and a door. And, you know, that could be like a multi-use room. If you need it as a bedroom, it can become a bedroom. And then we'll make the powder room, with the shower and, make that accessible, so that should, satisfy that requirement. We'll still have not a lot of light in that unit, because it's a corner unit.
So to summarize, the testimony is that one of the 4 units is ADA adaptable
Correct.
and could be made that way.
Yes.
if required.
Becoming a 3-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, it would be unit D, the largest unit.
Thank you. So then, with that, I do have one other witness, Mr. Frank Marisconda. He could be sworn in. I believe he was sworn in last time, so.
He was.
uh,
You're still under oath, sir.
Okay, so I think, so Frank, you did contact the township regarding, the availability of parking spaces for, permit, correct?
Yes, I currently know the process, but as the board spoke of, without having an actual tenant with a name and license plate, that's where I'm finding a little bit of a stumbling block, because I'm willing to, put a blanket name of the company on to reserve the spots and even pay for them up front, because obviously we will rent eventually, but, I think that's probably what I'm gonna propose, is that we do ask for 4 spaces, and I will pay for them up front, put them in our name of the company right now, and then as tenants come in, transfer them over to the tenants.
And where are you planning to ask for the spaces? Which lot? We discussed a couple options last time.
The municipal lot adjacent to us, which is by the field there.
You mean Friendship Field, or you mean the one by the
Friendship.
dam?
It would be Friendship Field.
Friendship Field, thank you.
That's the bigger lot.
Well, I think we had some discussion on this last time, was, essentially, so your request is for 4 parking spaces, there would be 4 off-site parking spaces, that's correct. So as a condition of any approval that was granted, you're looking for, obviously, relief from it being on your property and the ability to secure those spaces through the municipal permitting process, and understanding that if you could not secure them, you're not in compliance, and then you're back before this board. So I think that's the way that that's kind of secured, is that if he can't get it, he can't get it through the company's name, he has to wait, and for some reason he can't get those permits at that point, well,
That's my fear, is that I have people ready and willing,
and I completely understand, and again, I don't know how it's gonna work with them with putting it in an LLC, in your company's name or whatnot, but, for this board, I think they just need confirmation that before you, get those building permits and resolution compliance, you're just, you're gonna need to secure it in one manner or another.
So that means no, Samantha, that means no CO unless there's parking spaces, is that?
Well, he really,
Talk to me
No
about
building
how that
permits.
works. You
so,
can't get the building permit until the spots are secure.
correct.
Sure, okay, thank you.
Did the town tell you that they have available spots for you there?
Yeah, they did, they said there's currently spots available right now,
Okay.
yes. And I have the application.
So that does really conclude our, presentation, but we're happy to answer more questions.
I have one question. Are the spots for parking assigned? You have assigned parking if you get 4
I
parking?
don't think they do assign them, I think it's just, if they're in the lobby at night, they,
Yes,
whatever's open.
You have to park in the spots designated for permit, but it's not unit specific.
Okay.
Correct, it's like a row of parking spaces that are permit parking only, and then they can look there to see that those are the license plates that are, registered, but you don't have to park in spot 1 every single time, you can park anywhere from spot 1 to spot 30.
And it's designated with a sign that's permanent?
Yes, yeah, and I don't recall, are they striped yellow? So the rest, the regular spaces are striped white, and the permit only ones, when we restriped the parking lot about a year and a half ago, we changed them all to yellow parking spaces.
Right, and they happen to be the spots that are along the edge of the parking area.
That is
So
correct as well.
they could be the closest spots to their facility.
We briefly talked about including something in the lease, and I know we've done this for some of the other apartments, on Main Street, like across the street from the hardware store, where the lease will specify that regular tenant parking is not to be on, Main Street, because we have limited spot for our businesses, and, you know, we want everybody to be happy and have a parking space, but we don't want the businesses to be hurting because they're missing, you know, they're down a few parking spaces. So, asking if my colleagues agree that there should be language in the lease that regular tenant parking may not happen on Main Street. It has to go in the reserved spots that are in the permitted spots.
Sounds good to me.
Any other questions from the board?
Unfortunately, still a little bit unclear. The applicant is going to secure 4 permits from the parking authority, or put it in the lease that the tenants must do so.
Well, I think in order for me to move forward with an unconstructed project, that I need to, you know, meet your criteria, so I would have to secure them temporarily with the, you know, intent to transfer them over later on.
Yeah, just to be sure, you'll purchase 4 parking spots to make sure that somebody else doesn't come in and take them out from under you.
Correct.
I fully understand your angst for that. Because it's a limited, I don't know how many are available, but there's a limited amount of parking there.
Thank you.
Another thing that we talked about, there was a fire concern where you talked about maybe having a barbecue grill or grills on the parking deck, and they would have to be electric, because charcoal and gas are not permitted in a multifamily dwelling. I just want to make sure that we were clear on that. Thanks.
Thank you. Anything else? Seeing none, I'd like to once again open the meeting to the public. If there's anyone here from the public that would like to give testimony now, or if they have any knowledge or information they can share about this particular piece of property or this activity. Seeing no one, I close the meeting to the public. And council, this is it, you're done, right?
Yes, we are done.
Okay. Then we need a motion from the board.
I'll motion for approval.
Is there a second?
With stipulations.
We'll come up with a line of,
Usually, yeah, with the following conditions.
yep, is there a second?
Second.
All right, now, Ms. Koch?
Yep.
Ms. Koch, you've been making very good notes for us.
I think so, I carried from last time. Okay, so, approve with the following conditions, and that's that, 4 parking space will be, secured by permit from the borough, at Friendship Field prior to construction, and that leases will say that no regular tenant parking may occur on Main Street. Use of the outdoor deck is going to comply with borough noise ordinances. We talked about activities after 10 p.m. and we just discussed that there'll be no charcoal or gas grills. If there's a grill at all, it would have to be electric. A living wall on Main Street, on the Main Street side is, I wasn't unclear if that was for sure or if that was optional, so.
For sure.
Main Street, okay, living wall on the Main Street side, and I know, you had mentioned that if it's possible on Wall Street, we know the sidewalk's pretty skinny there, but whatever you could do between the windows, so living wall on Wall Street. No parking signs, will be in the loading and unloading area, a sign will indicate that.
No
Parking, loading, and unloading only, or you'll be
Okay,
towed.
no parking,
And the only
loading and
reason I
unloading
said-
only,
And
okay.
the only reason I suggested to put on, or you'll be towed, because if somebody parks there and you tow them and it doesn't say we're gonna tow you, they're gonna nail you.
Okay, towing, I'll add the towing part. and the final one was that the, one unit on the Wall Street side will be, constructed in such a way that there'll be a full bath on the main floor, so it could potentially be handicap compliant. That's all I have. Anybody else?
I think I just have one more comment to add is, we discussed last time that, a county road opening permit and, county approval would ultimately need to be obtained for any work on the curbs, sidewalks, and in the roadway, so, wanted to note that. The county did pave that road not that long ago, so it might be under moratorium, but that might be coming up fairly soon, so.
I have a question, that unit D, was that gonna have some kind of a bedroom or something?
It's right, it's gonna be a convertible space,
It's
where it could be an
ADA
optional bedroom, but there'll be a full bath
We use
on the main
the
floor.
term we like to use is ADA adaptable.
ADA adaptable, okay, thank you. ADA adaptable,
Just note, thereby converting it into a 3-bedroom apartment.
3 or 2?
3,
three, right.
because there'll be 2 upstairs and 1
And
downstairs.
one down if it goes to ADA adaptable, that's true, okay.
That's
And a
apartment
county
D.
opening and closing permit.
County road
may be
opening permit,
required.
and just a blanket statement that any outside agency approval that's required.
Okay.
Yeah,
Usually throw that in. Okay, that's all I have. Anybody else? Okay, that's
And
it.
the motion maker and seconder are happy?
Yes.
Any discussions yet? All right, we have a roll call vote, please. Oh, Chuck, Mark?
You just want to add the dumpster closure, and we talked about it, but it should be probably in there. Dumpster closures are removed on, did you say that?
It's already shown on the
It's on
list.
the
It is?
new,
Okay.
new
All right.
drawing.
We don't need to say anything, gotcha, okay. Just want to make sure, thank you.
All right, roll call vote, please.
Joyce Briarman.
Yes.
Ron Hammond,
Yes.
Bill Huffler,
Yes.
Mark Howard,
Yes.
Barb Koch,
Yes.
Bob Schaefer,
Yes.
Kim Rose,
Yes.
Chairman Grant.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, board, appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll call a very brief recess so that we can have people get organized and all the paper motion and stuff will.
Oh, Fred will mention the roadway or not? Yes, I'm going to. Unit 3.
Oh, really? It was my grandfather's too, actually. Huh? Yeah, next to Corbett.
All right, are we ready to go? I'd like to reconvene the land use board meeting. Our next order of business is application 106, 40 East Main Street. And once again, we've all received the documentation prior to the meeting. We've had a chance to review it. We've also had a chance to visit and view the property before the meeting. So, Counselor, I'd like to hand it over to you now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been advised to keep my finger on this while I speak.
No. You get, just set that red light on,
And
and
just
then when you're done, turn it off so we can.
Sit down and be comfortable.
Good evening, all. My name is Lindsay Janelle. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Michael Martino and Mr. Stephen Jankowski, sitting to my right. They are the owners of 40 East Main Street, the property that we are here for this evening. Informally or communally known as the Stephen Jackson House. This evening, we will also have Mr. Alfred Stewart, a professional engineer, to address the site plan and both variances requested licensed architect and planner, to address the architectural aspect of the application as well as the change of use variance and the bulk variances. The owners of the property, like I said, are here in attendance as well to offer their thoughts on the project and, give it from their perspective. I'm sure everybody here is familiar with the property, but by way of background, this application regards the historic Stephen Jackson house, which was built in approximately 1778. The property is currently located in the OB Office Business District. The structure itself is a colonial style with a gabled roof, sitting at 2.5 stories with a covered porch. It is approximately 4,500 square feet. The inside of the property has been taken down to the studs completely, and it is completely vacant. The lot itself is 0.417 acres, with a paved drive and walkways. While the structure at the beginning of its life was likely residential, the most noted use was as a convent. However, the property has remained vacant for some time. In 2022, the property was subdivided from the contiguous property located at 60 East Main Street. This board also heard that subdivision application and further site plan application. The applicants purchased the property in the fall of 2024 with plans to convert the building into 4 residential units consisting of 3 2-bedroom apartments and 1 3-bedroom apartment. As you will see this evening, the goal of the project is to preserve the historic character of the premises while using the property to its most productive and feasible use, which in this current market, my client believes to be for housing. Accordingly, the applicant respectfully seeks the following this evening: preliminary site plan approval for the proposed lot improvements, a D variance. As a side note, we did get the planner's report this morning, and she suggested to go either way with a D1 or a D3 variance. We are prepared to offer testimony regarding either, and it is up to the board's discretion. We are also seeking a C variance to change the zoning from OB to residential, as well as corresponding bulk variances. We also respectfully request any variances which may arrive this evening at the meeting that were not in the application. So, I would like to introduce my first witnesses, which I'm actually going to be introducing the owners of the property so that they could share their vision. And if you would like, sir, I can swear them in.
I'll do that. Why don't you both rise, please? Raise your right hands. You solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you are about to give before this board should be the entire truth.
Yes. Yes.
And each of your names, please.
Michael Martino. Stephen Jankowski.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. So, very first off, we are interested in what drew you to the property and its potential.
Yes. Steve and I actually also own another piece of property in Rockaway. It happens to be 150 East Main Street. We like the town of Rockaway very much. We see there's a lot of potential, future potential with the town. This particular building, Steve and I like to bring older buildings back to life, and we think that this is a perfect project for that. It's been sitting vacant for a long time, and we do think the best use for this building at this time is residential for apartments specifically. You know, we have apartments to the right of us, and we have also apartments across the street from us. So we think that it fits perfect within that area on Main Street.
And you placed an exhibit on the easel that I don't think we've seen before, have we?
No.
So let's mark that A1 then, please. I don't know if you're going to point to it and talk about it or not, but.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we know it's, obviously deemed a historic building, and our objective is to maintain as much historical aspect to the building as possible, especially to the outside of the building.
As Lindsay stated, the inside of the building is completely gutted to the studs. So the inside will be completely redone to accommodate the 4 apartments, but the outside of the building, we are planning to keep intact, same color. We made two modifications to date. We had to replace the roof out of necessity. We made the roof color as black. And then there was a tree, if you were standing from the street looking at the building to the left, had to be removed because it was a dying tree, and we got permits for both the roof and for the tree to remove. So those are currently the only 2 changes we've made to the building to date, but like I said, the outside of the building, we're trying to preserve as much of the historical aspect as possible.
Did you say it's gutted inside now?
Gutted to the, yes.
And just out of curiosity, are you able to see where the oldest parts of the house are? Because obviously it's a house that grew over ages.
There's some old fireplaces in the building that you could really, tell that it's an older building. Some of the older wood, flooring, things of that nature, but it's been previous owner demoed a lot of the inside of the building prior to us purchasing it.
Did you say the tree in the front, that you didn't remove it yet, but you're going to remove it?
It's been removed.
It's gone?
Yeah, we removed it prior to the winter. We were worried that it was dead and with snow and
It was
stuff we
dead?
didn't want, yes.
You're sure it was dead?
Yes, actually, my client did indicate to me earlier that he did meet with the town arborist prior to taking the tree down. So it was definitely dead.
We have a town arborist.
No, it would've went through engineering, which is fine, but, just to document, anything that's dead or dying, they have to get either a signed letter or certification from a tree removal expert, who are licensed by the state of New Jersey, and they would have had that to get their approval for it. And if it wasn't dead or dying, they're still allowed to remove it. There's just certain, other requirements for replacement.
Right.
If it's dead or dying, you're exempt from replacement requirements. So either way, it's their prerogative to take down the tree.
Please forgive me then for
No,
indicating
not a problem
There's
at
a
all.
town arborist. This is my first time in front of Rockaway Borough, so.
There are for a lot of towns, a lot of bigger towns, but
That's what Joyce is arborist.
the de facto.
That's why she wanted to know on the dead or dying because of Joyce's tree. Remember Joyce's tree? Not my tree, not me. Go ahead, sorry.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
That was dead and dying.
Yeah, so that's been removed.
Okay.
It actually looks better without the tree there.
I drive
I
past
guess
it all the
every day.
time, why did I not even? I'm looking at that right now, I see, what's missing? There's cars there.
So this evening, if the board doesn't have any more questions for the applicant, we would like to get rolling along and have Mr. Alfred Stewart, the engineer. I'm sorry.
I just have one question for the applicant. This is the 3rd time that this site has been brought up. Maybe not just as this particular site, but it was brought up. It was part of the bigger site, then it became a little subject of when they were chopping it off to make it a separate site and so on and so forth. And it used to have a brass plaque on the front lawn, and that was brought up on the last time it was supposed to be restored. And that still has not been restored.
This time it will be addressed. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit of feedback on the microphone, so I hope that that's not bothersome to anybody. But yes, we are very aware of the sign.
Okay.
We did see it in the previous resolution from
Right.
2022,
Right.
and my client is certainly willing to reinstall a sign commemorating the historic nature of the property.
Just because it hasn't been done yet, you know?
Yes.
I actually,
I think, and Mark, to note, I did put in the engineer's report for this, that compliance with the prior resolution would be a requirement of any approval, and specifically noting that the historical marker had not been done to date. Because the prior application was just a subdivision and there was no construction associated with it, the mechanism for enforcement is more difficult. This time it's a lot easier to enforce because you can hold up building permits and COs and things like that, so.
And putting my historical committee hat on, I'm treasurer for the Rockaway Borough Historical Committee. That sign was damaged at some point when Sal Chevalotti owned the building, and it belongs physically to the county, and the county took it away for restoration. And should the application be approved, I'm sure we'll just have some language that when the county's ready to put it back in, that the owners will permit that.
Yeah, I was thinking, Barbara, you and I spoke, I did call the historic, and I did ask about the sign, it is in their possession.
Yeah, I don't know who you talked to.
Okay, but it was someone from the Historic Society, and they do have the sign in their possession. They said it was up to their decision, I guess, to put it back, because obviously if we make more modifications to the building that doesn't keep it historic, then they might not put the sign back. But again, our plan is to keep the building as historic as possible, and as you can see in the illustration to the right, you can see that the sign is back in the picture. So we do plan on putting it back, yes.
And I just have one other question about, I understand that 3 other trees are slated for removal. Could you talk about those? Oh, is that the architect?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. I'll wait for that. Thank you.
I'll add one thing though, since we're talking about the historic component. There's a note in our report that maybe you'd be best to address, a recommendation from the master plan to explore some level of historic designation for the property. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts on that would be and how you might consider using that.
I can talk about that a little bit. The only building in town currently that's on the National Registry of Historic Places is the library. This particular building, the Stephen Jackson House, has a lot of history from colonial times, George Washington slept here, all that kind of stuff. But too many renovations occurred on the building after 1900 to meet the qualifications of the National Historic Registry designation.
That was our.
Question was answered.
Thank you. That was actually gonna be our follow-up, that unfortunately the property had gone through too many renovations and therefore could not be designated on the National Historic Register. However, in an effort to, of course, preserve, as you said, the colonial charm of the property, we are going to try to preserve that as much as possible, including a lovely plaque indicating that. So, before I introduce Mr. Stewart, are there any other questions? And my witnesses are going to be here for the remainder of the evening, so of course, if anything were to arise, we could certainly bring them back up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and just 1 second though, I'll open the meeting to the public. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to question, not testify, but question to what they just heard? Seeing no one, we close the meeting to the public. Thank you very much, sirs.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give before this board should be the entire truth?
Yes, I do.
And would you please, although we know you, identify yourself and your professional address?
Fred Stewart, professional engineer and land surveyor. Address is at 459 Route 46, Kendall, New Jersey.
And your licenses are all up to date and current?
Yes, they are.
We're more than happy to accept you as an expert in your field.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Would you like to take it from here?
Sure, I'll just run through my testimony and then anticipate questions at the end, I'm sure. So we're here tonight for 40 East Main Street, which is lot 23.02, block 17, which is just at the corner of East Main Street and Mill Lane, across from Franklin Road, which is that traffic signal there, right there on Main Street. We're on the Zone OB, which is Office Business District. As you know, we were recently part of a minor subdivision with lot 23.01 right next door, which is a former school, now converted to apartments. On the site is a 2.5-story building with a attached garage to the rear of the building, a covered porch, a driveway that accesses the attached garage, and also has a small parking area located to the rear of the garage as well. The topography of the site basically runs from the southern corner, and I'm just going to go refer to my plans. Sorry, Ken. Yeah, put in front of Mr. Fox. So the board has a good finish. So these are my plans that are dated 12/12/20 twenty-four with no revision date. I'm referring to sheet 2, which is basically existing conditions plan.
We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Better? Yeah, that's better. Okay, so there's a driveway, as I was talking earlier, it extends from Mill Lane up towards the rear of the home into the garage area. And it does have a parking area located to the rear of that garage area as well. Along with the driveway and the other improvements, such as a concrete walk, covered porch in the front of the property, stairwells in the back of the property, one going down to the basement, one going up into the home. Right, and of course, a slate walk leading from the sidewalk on East Main Street to the front door area. Now, what we intend to do here, as far as the building goes, is minor changes with the building from a footprint standpoint. We're not really changing the footprint at all. This covered porch will become part of the home itself, but Mr. Fox will discuss the other changes with the home, and I'll just proceed with the site improvements. So basically, the main thing with the site improvements is the driveway and the parking areas. Because we're going to a 4-unit residential home, you have to, of course, provide enough parking. So as you come off of Mill Lane, what we are intending to do is widen the throat of the driveway from approximately 12 feet to 20 feet in this area here, and then provide a drive aisle that's 20 feet wide, where the former one is approximately 12 feet wide, up towards the garage area, and convert this area into parking stalls, of which we're gonna have 2 in that small parking area I mentioned earlier to the rear of the garage. And then we're gonna have 3 stalls in front of the garage, and then the garage will have 2 stalls within. Now these 2 stalls within will be in tandem with the 1 stall outside, so therefore they'll have to be assigned to a unit, so there's no interference with someone trying to leave the garage or somebody trying to get out of the garage. Okay, so we're also providing, of course, a handicap accessible stall, which is gonna be located on the westerly side of the building, right in this section here, and along with the access stall, and next to that is an additional parking stall as well. The handicap access will be coming from the head of those stalls alongside the building up to a front walkway, progressing along the front of the building to a small ramp that gets you onto the front porch area where we're going to be providing our handicap access. It's not a ramp, it's just a walkway, so there's going to be no rails, so it's not going to be an only rail system in front of the building. So it's just basically a walkway at the proper grade to allow handicap access. Okay. Along with some of the other improvements will be a small sign located 10 feet off the right-of-way line, basically in front of the home, which is going to be 15 square feet per side. So the sign is going to be able to be seen from East and West Main Street. We are also proposing, because of the grade differences, proposing a wall, a small wall, located along the northerly boundary, this section here. And of course, on top of that wall, we'll have a guide rail to protect anybody from going off the driveway over the wall. That wall is at a maximum of 3 feet high. That would be in this area here, which would be the highest point of only 3 feet. But I know you're within your engineer's report saying that we should show elevations there for the top and bottom wall, which we gladly do and provide. One more proposed item on the drawing would be a proposed flagpole, which is going to be located in the left front corner of the home, right in this section here. As far as the parking goes, same with the location of the stalls, we do have 9 stalls on the site, which include 2 in the garage, so 7 exterior and 2 in the garage, total of 9. As you can see on the bottom left-hand corner of the drawings, we do meet your ordinance standards, and we also meet residential site improvement standards for parking. So there's more than enough parking on the site. A total of 9. Your ordinance calls for 6 stalls required, and RSI standards call for 8 stalls required, so we're above that with the 9. As far as lighting goes, we didn't really want to light up this parking area with pole lights and the like. We'd rather just stick with the residential light fixtures in nature on the building itself. So above every access point or doorway, such as in the front porch, we propose lights on the front porch. I believe Mr. Fox will get more into the type of light fixture, if it's gonna be underneath the canopy or just above the doorway or next to the doorway. Same thing with the garage area, proposing lights near the garage area, whether it be on the sidewall or above the garage door itself. All these lights will be motion detected, so if somebody pulls up, they'll go off, and only remain on for a certain amount of time. As far as by the handicap stall, we will provide some lighting, a light fixture off the corner of the building, shining down onto the handicap stall area. And then, we don't show them here, but I did talk to the applicant earlier, and we will provide some bollard lighting along the walkway, just to illuminate the walkway a little bit more across the front of the building in this section here. This way the access point will be lit up fairly well for anybody accessing the site. Keep in mind, there is lighting along East Main Street, so I feel that this lighting situation will be more than enough or sufficient for this project, especially residential site like this. And the home itself.
I have a question.
Sure.
What is actually on the sign that you're proposing? What's the verbiage?
It's gonna be, Stephen Jackson Apartments. I think
That's what you're proposing?
Yeah.
It's shown on sheet 5 of the architect.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I didn't see it yet.
Stephen Jackson Apartment.
And it's only a 15-foot requirement?
Yeah, it's on the architectural.
Yeah.
Okay, now,
I can do it.
as far as, the impervious coverage goes, we're currently at 7,203 square feet of impervious coverage. We are increasing that to 8,715 square feet, approximately 1,500 square feet of additional coverage on the site. And that's mainly due to the handicap stall, widening up the driveway aisles, and basically providing the front walkway for handicap accessibility to the front of the building. There are 6 existing non-conforming conditions that I reflect on my zone schedule here, which is on the bottom center of the page. Those 6 existing non-conforming conditions are the lot area, which is 18,181 square feet, where 48,000 is required. The rear yard of the building is at 22.3 feet, where 35 feet is required. Side yards at 13.4 feet, where 35 feet is required. Building height, as far as the stories go, is at 2.5 stories, where 2 stories are required. Minimum parking side yard is at 4.9 feet, where 15 feet is required. And minimum parking rear yards at 2.1 feet, where 15 feet is required. So that's a total of 6 existing non-conforming conditions. Now what we're doing with the proposed parking area, we're gonna be actually pulling that away. So we're gonna be providing a better situation for those last 2 items I stated, which is the minimum parking side yard, currently at 4.9 feet. We're gonna be going to 6 feet, so that's a slight improvement to that situation. And as far as the rear yard, the existing 2.1 feet is gonna be increased to 4 feet, where required is 15, so again, we're bettering that situation as well. So I think that covers all the site changes, which basically are minimal, mainly just parking area and driveway for the site. Now, I know your engineer has a letter that's pretty, has a few questions that I might be able to answer. I don't know if you want to go through that at this time, or if there's some questions.
Could you talk about the tree removal, please?
Oh, sure, I should have remembered that. Yeah, there's gonna be, basically on the first page, or second page, I'm sorry, existing conditions. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 trees shown. This large tree in the front, that's the one that was recently taken down because, from what I understand, it's hollow in the middle or rotting from the inside out. Now, what we are proposing, what's where the driveway is going, are removal of 2 trees, one near the handicap stall here, and the other one in the rear section right there. Those are the parking stalls that we proposed. So, besides the one that was recently removed, we're removing 2 more, and one's to remain on the site, which is off the rear of the garage.
Are there trees proposed to be planted as well? Do you have any landscaping proposed on the site?
Yes, good question. Leading to my landscape design, which is on page 4. proposing some tree plantings, mainly in the, things in the parking area. There's gonna be 4 trees, 1, 2, 3, and 4, planted throughout the site. There's gonna be some arborvitae planted along the northwest corner, basically to help screen that handicap stall from East Main Street itself, so it will appear there's not as much parking on the site as we show or proposing. And then some minor plantings around the sign itself, and that's basically all the plantings that we have. Keep in mind that there's minimal plantings. The site is basically being covered with the current driveway and the proposed driveway. There are utilities throughout the site, so it's very difficult to provide additional plantings, especially larger trees in nature.
So you have some flowering, they look like pink dogwood. Are you going to be putting something like that in front?
What we are proposing there are the SAs, which I should know this by heart, just to make sure it's a sassafras that we're proposing.
They get kind of big,
Yeah,
so those would probably be a lot prettier. They don't get that big.
I would agree they would be prettier, yes. I mean, we can modify that to a type of dogwood, especially in the front.
Yeah, that's just, it's charming.
Yeah.
They do very well on Main Street for some reason, but a sassafras is gonna be big.
Yeah, we could provide a flowering dogwood of some sort. That's not a problem.
Brett, can you provide some testimony on the stormwater mitigation you're proposing on the site?
Oh yeah, I did skip over that. We are proposing a dry well on the site that's gonna be connected to the roof leaders, which is back off the rear of the garage. Basically, we connect the roof leaders to that as much as possible. Not sure we're gonna be able to get all of them. I think we, at least the rear of the home will be going into that dry well. Above that wall that we have here, I did leave that as open stone trench. This will accept some of the surface runoff coming from the site before it enters into the property to the north of us. This is our high point out here on the southern side of the property, and all the water is basically flowing towards Mill Lane or towards the property behind us. So we did put that trench drain behind the wall to help basically intercept some of the surface runoff before it goes onto the adjoining property and infiltrate it into the ground. Keep in mind it's only a 3-foot high wall, so we will be putting that stone down below that wall system. So that will help the situation, some infiltration. Now, I did note within your report, just to mention that point that you brought up about sizing of the dry well. We'll review that with you to maybe increase the size.
Yeah, just slightly with the storm events we've been seeing in the updates, and then numbers we like to see a little bigger than the 2.5 inch storm, maybe even just 3 or 3.5. Just get a little bit more capacity from the system.
Understood.
While I have you, can you comment on the utilities here for water and sewer? Given the historic nature and how old this property is, has there been an evaluation of the existing water and sewer lines? Do we think we're going to be able to reuse them? Are they coming in Main Street? Are they coming off of Mill? Anything that you can maybe comment on that?
Well, I believe the water's coming off of the mill, but we still have to research that. There is a water valve located off the northwestern corner, western corner, right in this section here, we show it there. I believe that's what's servicing the house as far as the water goes. As far as increasing the size of the water line, that might have to be completed. We're not sure what the size is just yet.
Okay.
We really haven't done a lot of investigation on that end of it. If we need to increase it, we'll gladly do that, but that's typically done during the construction phase. We'll check the size. If it needs to be bigger, we'll basically improve that line. And same thing with the sewer. We'll figure out where it is. Right now, we're not sure where it goes. I would assume into Main Street, or East Main Street, not 100% sure, but you never know. So we'll investigate that, find out where it is, we'll verify that the line is intact, and hopefully we use that line to not install a new line.
I just want to note that for both water and sewer, if there are any upgrades or any changes, that there are permits that are associated with that would need to be obtained. There's a water allocation permit, which is for your increase in demand, which you would likely need on this property since you're going from former very low, need used to, you know, your residential apartments. And then there's a water and sewer, connection permits if you need to go that route. So just wanna note that those would all be required to be obtained prior to the issuance of building permits for the site.
Yes, understood, and we intend to get those.
Great.
Trash, as far as trash goes, we do have a trash area located in the corner here, off the formerly covered porch, that will house some, the garbage cans. We intend to have garbage can area, there's only 4 units there, typically 2 cans per unit is all we need, and that's what we intend to do.
So this will be serviced with a regular residential type pickup,
Yes.
not a dumpster.
Not a dumpster, that's correct.
How will this property be serviced by, delivery vehicles?
There are
Like,
on-street
by that I mean like Amazon.
Yeah, an Amazon truck. There are,
Amazon.
there is off-street parking across the frontage of our property, basically between the entrance into Mill Lane, and there's an entrance to the adjoining building. I believe it's probably right about here, I think. I think there's about 6 or 7 stalls across the frontage of our property, so an Amazon truck can easily park there.
Is there a
If
walkway?
if they are, what's that?
Is there an existing or proposed walkway from East Main to the front door?
Yes, there's currently a sidewalk on East Main, and there is an existing slate walk going to the front door.
It was also discussed that a Amazon truck could essentially just pull in and then pull out if need be.
Right. You know, only concern with that is, of course, if cars are coming and going and things like that, I don't want anybody to be blocked. I mean, you know, we can't tell them what to do, but honestly, it might be easier for them to access it off of East Main if those spaces are open, but as long as there's some sort of access for them. Is there like a central space for packages and mail, or how would that be handled with these units? Or if Ken wants to answer that, that's fine.
Mr. Fox can discuss that working possible.
We'll hold off on that comment, thank you. Do you show on these plans where, you know, this is an old building, I don't know, did it ever have HVAC before? Is this gonna be the first time it has HVAC in it, and where are those units gonna go? And
Right now it doesn't, but yeah, we do show four condenser units outside the building, 1 for each unit. Again, off the northerly corner, in the rear of the home, and off the easterly side of the house, there's a little hook in there that can place 2 other.
And these would be the standard style
Yeah.
units, okay, on small compact pads.
Yep.
Great, thank you. Will the building be metered as one building? Is what I'm assuming, yeah. And electric, do they need separate meters for each of these?
I think their intention, which maybe the applicant can answer that, would be to have 4 separate meters. Okay, for electric. So currently the overhead wires are connected at the northwestern corner, right on this side here. So I believe that would be the location.
Alright, I would just ask if there is like a central location where you have 4 different meters, that there's some sort of screening around it, you know, plant a nice bush kind of on the side, so, you know, you don't see the face of the meters right when you're looking at the front of the house or anything.
Yeah, we could see what we could do with that,
Yeah.
because right now we have a
Doesn't
6
need to be
foot
screened
wide
directly
wall.
in front of it, but just so again, when you're looking at the front, that you don't see like 4 meters.
Understood. Yeah, we'll try and do something with that. Maybe I can pull these parking stalls back slightly. We can provide something in front
Just
of those
a little
meters.
buffer, just
Yeah,
something
little
really
buffer.
small, but.
I'll take a good look at that, because right now it's a 6 foot wide walk on this section here,
Yeah.
not to a 5 foot wide walk. But that 6 foot wide walk is there because we have 18 foot wide, or 18 foot deep stalls. That 6 foot wide allows for the 2 foot overhang of the vehicle to create the 20 foot depth of the parking stall that's typically needed. But yeah, we'll see what we can do about shielding the electrical meters.
Alright, I'll just follow up. My last 2 comments, snow removal, how will that be undertaken, and is there an area near the parking area where that can all be pushed to, removed to, because it is a tight site, so I wanna make sure that that's been considered.
Yeah, there's plenty of areas. We have this area, off the rear corner of the building. We have this whole sideline here, although there's guide rail there. We do have about a 5 foot buffer between the properties. This whole section back in here, there'd be some snow removal, and of course, right in this section here. So we
The
do have
testimony
areas-
is there's satisfactory space in order to
Yeah,
remove snow.
satisfactory space, especially these days, but if we do have an excessive storm, you have to remove some snow from site, you have to remove it from site.
I'm sure they have that problem a lot of people will at the same time.
Yeah.
So my last comment's just related to some outside agency approvals. Has anybody else already had eyes on this? Morris County Planning Board, Soil Conservation District, RBRSA, anybody like that? Or
Yes.
are we waiting for the outcome of this meeting before we make this application?
I can attest to, at least the Morris County Planning Board has given us their, I believe, site plan approval. I did provide it to Ms. Reardon. The only thing I am waiting for is the Soil Conservation District, but the Morris County Planning Board did approve it already.
Great, thank you.
A letter of no interest?
Yes, it's, I forwarded it to Ms. Reardon, and I can certainly provide a copy to you, Mr. Mills.
I can take care of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an approval letter, because we are on county road.
Yes.
So the only one I'm waiting for now is the Soil Conservation District.
And that's on me, I did receive some comments back from them, but just didn't have the time to respond back to soil conservation, so.
No, and it's probably beneficial to take any comments or conditions that might need to be addressed as well and incorporate those into the final plans that they see, so. I'm glad you've at least started the process with all those, agencies, that's great. Those are all the questions I have for now, but thank you.
What kind of heating did the building have before now?
I would know that,
What was
maybe
the
after
heat?
my, type of heat.
Electric, gas, oil?
We don't know, there was a tank sweep done of the property.
There's a well tank in the basement, but I don't know what they had prior.
Okay, I was just making sure it was above ground.
Well, there
Well,
was a tank in the basement.
There is a basement, it's
Well,
above
that's,
ground.
but it's not buried. But,
Yes.
okay, so my other comment I'd like to make, so, I see your 2 parking spaces over there on the drawing, and there's some windows there, and you made comment that you were going to put some lighting off of the building for the, handicap. How are you gonna stop that lighting on the building going into the first floor's apartment? Cause I have it fit. Did you see my point?
Yes, no, I
Yeah.
understand your point.
So how, I
one
mean,
of
I know you said you were gonna put stuff on the bottom, but if you put it off the building, it's gonna shine into those windows on the first apartment, right there. You
Yeah,
might
off-
wanna just look at that.
Off that front corner of the home, I was just informed that's a kitchen area
Okay.
in the same location as the handicap stall.
Okay.
So, and keep in mind that the lights will be motion detected with,
Oh,
no
there,
amount of time.
okay.
It's not gonna be a light that's gonna be on all the time, that's our whole intention with this site, so we don't wanna light up the whole area for, just for units basically.
You mentioned that you put your dry wells in because you made an increase in impervious coverage, correct?
Yes.
That will take the full amount of the increased impervious coverage?
Which is what we just went over, basically, it's a 2.5-inch rainfall event.
Right.
Multiplied by the, additional impervious cover.
Right.
But Samantha just would like me to increase that somewhat, to maybe 3.5 inches or so, which we'll do, that's not a problem.
Okay.
We have some room for additional storage of dry.
Also, we've asked everybody that's put dry wells into the mix. All these dry wells, we've asked them to put the dry wells into the, a maintenance plan into the deed, so that forever, whoever owns this piece of property down the road knows that every 2 years, you gotta have a guy come in and suck out the pit, so that it doesn't overflow into the guy behind his property, and he's bitching that, you know, it was never maintained properly and all this kind of thing, so every time, everybody's into putting these things in, which is fantastic, you know, I think it's great. And I ask for it all the time, but I also ask that we have a maintenance plan drawn up, and that is put into the deed.
We can do that, that's not
Okay.
Also, on the plans, you have it there, right by the handicap that still like an old dry well cistern or?
Not 100% sure yet.
I was
We'll
gonna
find
say,
out.
are you gonna abandon it properly? Cause I'm pretty sure it's probably just an open hole.
If that's an old well of some sort, we'll investigate that, see what it is, and if it needs to be sealed properly, we'll take care of that.
I have a couple that I don't think have been touched on. There are a few parking spaces that are right in front of the garage.
Yes.
So is that garage gonna remain active, and if so, like, how will that work operationally with the spaces sort of blocking that
So
garage?
that would be tandem parking, and each spot in front, so it would have a corresponding garage spot. So it wouldn't be that anybody could use the garage, the spaces, correct me if I'm wrong, Fred, but wouldn't the spaces be essentially congruent with each other?
Yes. The two spaces that are in tandem will go to one unit.
Okay.
Assigned space.
If I get a garage, I also get the spot behind me.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
And those would be assigned in the lease
Yes.
for those?
And then, there's a couple of design waivers that you're seeking for the parking spaces in terms of the depth. 18 feet or 20 feet is required, and I think the driveway width at 20 versus 24. You've provided quite a bit of testimony about circulation generally, but can you just touch specifically on the driveway width and the parking space dimensions and your thoughts on the adequacy of what's being provided?
As far as the width of the driveways, we're at 20 feet, we're required is at 24. Again, this is a residential situation going on here. It's not gonna get, heavily active throughout the day or, not much at all, actually. The parking areas are separated. We have the two located off the west portion. So, from basically what I can state is that minimal amount of flow in and out of this property, which will not require a 24-foot wide aisle. Not large vehicles will not be going in there. It's just gonna be residential type vehicles, cars, SUVs, that type of thing. So it's gonna be minimal amount of use on this property. It's not open to the public, therefore a 24-foot aisle I feel is not necessary. To help with the runoff situation, I went down to a 20-footer, which works fine. As far as the stalls go, I'm proposing 9x18s, and then as I stated earlier, we have a 6-foot wide walk in this area here, which does allow for a 2-foot overhang of a vehicle. So that would be a 4-foot wide walk there across here, which is more than enough for pedestrians going up the front walkway. And same thing here, this has approximately a 2-foot overhang as well near the garage. The garage, this will be in front of the garage doors, and these two here, nothing in front of them, they will be allowed to have a 2-foot overhang as well, which equates to 20-foot depth for the parking stall.
Thank you. Any more questions from the board or the professionals? Seeing none, I'll once again open the meeting to the public. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to question what they've just heard? Seeing no one, we close the meeting to the public. Thank you very much. And thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear the evidence you're about to give before this board is for the entire truth.
Yes, I do.
We know you as well, but you identify yourself for the record.
Kenneth Fox, Fox Architectural Design, Route 10 in Ledgewood, New Jersey. I am a licensed architect, a licensed professional planner, and my licenses are current. And I testify before this board.
Yes, we're more than happy to accept you as an expert in your field.
Thank you. So you heard a lot about Stephen Jackson Building. We have the rendering put up there, which is, it's interesting to perform this rendering because it's really showing a picture of sort of what's there. We've made some modest changes, but we wanted to emphasize, which I'll go through as I tell you about the layout. One of the things we wanted to emphasize by bringing a rendering is that one, we're maintaining the historical character of this and we do what we can to maintain that character. We're not trying to really do a historical completion of that, but it's going to look good and better than it does today. And the other aspect of it is that in Mr. Stewart's design of the parking and our access and our handicap access as we go from the building, we wanted to maintain the large lawn out in the front and make sure that the building set up behind the lawn, behind the sidewalk as it does today. And that's, well, again, my planning testimony, that's a big reason why we have some of those parking location variances and such, and that's because we wanted to maintain that look that Rockaway's used to. So, as stated before, the Stephen Jackson House, circa 1778. Part of it, is built really in two parts. I don't know the years of that, and then all the repairs, alterations, and stuff that have been done, and it is totally gutted on the interior. So. What we were proposed, well, and it got an interior. So it is now a two and a half story building. The right side is 2-story, and the left side, as you see in the rendering, is 2.5 story. There's a called a loft or bed. We're going to be using it for a bedroom up there. So there's a third level on the left part of the building. I'm going to refer now to sheet A1 as submitted. So it's I'm not going to enter this as an exhibit. And this is showing the first floor layout, first floor plan. So the entrance that Mr. Stewart designed the handicap walkway, and we designed walkway with less slope so we don't have to put ugly railings along it. So as long as we have that, that works out fine. What we've done in front of the door is raise the platform of the porch up a little bit so we can get into through the door. So we've created handicap accessible entrance into the front foyer from the front. So in the rear of the area, in the rear of this foyer area, was from the outside entrance to the basement and a porch back there. And what we have done is created a back door to the home off of the parking in the rear. Mainly because the parking is in the rear, we want to be able to access that rather than forcing the people to walk from the driveway all the way around the front. And the way that we're doing this is we are in that front center foyer, and there's a grand or stairway up. We're actually lowering the floor on the interior somewhat, so we can go under that and have proper headroom. So we go under that and get the rear door out there. So we end up with a door in front and back, making this really accessible to the site and provide excellent circulation. And again, redoing a door. Because of that, we had to redo the access way to the basement because that was located right here. But that's the only footprint configuration change that we're proposing is this little area here that's providing access to that back door and access to the basement. So that's the only thing that's changed on the building outside. And then also in the left rear, there's an open porch, and we're creating that so now that's an enclosed area, part of the unit apartment number 1. When we enter the front, the center foyer, we go left and right into two bedroom units, two bedroom units. These are handicap accessible when it comes to circulation, and we are creating all the units as handicap adaptable so that our kitchens, baths, as required for multifamily, are being adaptable also. There's a center stair that goes up to the second floor. And actually, I stated that incorrectly on or a bedroom. On the lower level, first, on the left-hand side is a 2-bedroom unit. On the right-hand side is a 3-bedroom unit. We do have one 3-bedroom unit, and that is on the first floor. Second floor, enter in the center stairway. Number 4, apartment 4. On the right side is a 2-bedroom unit, accessible there. Layout explains itself. On the left-hand side, we've utilized that upper loft area to create a new bedroom. So on the level of entry, we have all of our living spaces and a bedroom, and then we have an interior stair to that unit, shown onto sheet A3, that goes inside the unit to a bedroom bath on that upper level. So that is a 2-bedroom unit with that additional level.
Not to throw you off your stride.
That's okay.
Will that 3rd level require an external fire escape?
No.
Because?
Because we're going to sprinkler in the building. Because there's sprinklers in the building.
Thank you.
Color. I mentioned that repair materials and other materials we're using on the exterior of the building are going to be historically appropriate. Where there's actual wood on the siding for patching or repair, and then we'll match it with wood. But our intention is to be able to use some composite or cementitious materials, modern materials, but in the same, like I say, historically appropriate design as exists on the building today. Including, we have window frames, we're going to use modern windows, can't go back and put old windows to be rotted on that, so we're going to complete that. In the planner's report, I know it was mentioned or questioned about the basement, but I made a statement that basement is not to be utilized for habitable space. I testified about the materials which she had on her question on her section C2. And then on C3, she asked about the amenity spaces, privacy in the front porch. And as you see on this, we're not adding any, I'll say we're not adding any privacy measures. We do have a front porch that's usable by any of the 4 families that will be living there. And there's some windows near the front porch, and that's going to stay. We don't want to be putting some non-historically significant features out in that area. And on her number 10 of her report, she asked about fireproofing. Certain aspects, we're going to build this, the building code. We don't fireproof anything, we fire separate, or it was just semantics, but it's not like the word fireproof, it's not used in architecture. We are going to make sure that conforms to all the required building codes. And so we're going to have a older wood structure that's now going to live a lot more years with a modern interior and a attractive exterior. And that's it for the architectural end.
Any questions from any professionals?
Thanks for your testimony. On the materials again, you mentioned, you know, where there's wood and you can match wood, you'll replace wood, and other places you might use cementitious tiles or whatever. Do you have a sense, like, if you have the building elevations there, like, do you have a sense of where you might be matching wood and where you might be using other materials? Can you just provide a little more?
The answer is really no. I have not done a I have not done an analysis. I've not done analysis of the facade in those areas, maybe the owners have walked it enough. So I can't say we're gonna do that, but, I've mentioned the areas that we're changing, and I'll say where we're infilling some windows, and that's shown on my elevations, they're dotted in where we're infilling some windows. So where we're infilling windows, if the area in that side, the siding is still good, we'll use wood siding to match that, so we can fit it in and make it look, so it doesn't look like patch. So that's probably the best example of where we're infilling windows, otherwise it's doing repairs.
But the intent is when you're doing repair or replacement, if you do use a modern material, cementous board or vinyl, it will be dimensionally and shaped to match.
Dimensionally similar.
To match what was there, so it won't be something that sticks out.
The idea is to make it blend. So
Make it blend and to make it last a lot longer.
Right.
I have a question that came up earlier about where the mailboxes and package delivery. Is there some combination for that in like the entry foyer or something?
Yes, we have a large entry foyer, and that's shown on sheet A1. So we have a large entry foyer, access from front and rear, and we'll make sure we have the area where specific mailboxes or shelves or something that's. And we have a small small storage area in there. We may be able to use that for packages or something. We haven't established exactly. But we have a large
package delivery.
Yeah, we have a large public area in the foyer, access front and back, that is where it's gonna occur.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Regarding architecture, we have planning testimony.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
The fireplaces, they're discontinued use of those, they're all being.
We're decommissioning those.
They're not over.
Yeah.
Is there a firebox on the second floor as well?
I don't think the plan, it's been a while since I was in there. We've shown where they're being,
Yeah, they're right there.
on the wall, on the first floor. We can show how they're cut, we have shown that they're covered up. On the second floor,
What I'm asking, is there a firebox on the second floor as well?
Yes, there is.
Also, can you just talk in general about the exterior improvements? I know you're somewhat limited by the prior resolution of what you can do there, but can you just talk in general about the exterior improvements? You know, it's an old building, it's in kind of rough shape, especially in the back and the east. So just in general?
While you're looking at
When
the
you-
picture,
Yeah.
I'd just like to point out that in the prior resolution, when we granted the subdivision, we made a comment about the front of the building must appear historically accurate. They can do modifications to the back, it doesn't look like they're doing many, but
Cool.
the historical accuracy pertained only to the front, the street view.
And we've tried to maintain, so we've shown the rendering, it's like the cleaned up building, that's what we intend to do. I'm sure that some of the dentals are rotten and some of the fascia's rotten and in the repair of the roof. So when we go back and do that, it's really gonna depend on if we can fix 1 foot of it or if we have to take out an 8-foot section. You know, that's really gonna depend on exactly how the materials go. But our intention is to make sure that the dentals and the fascia are shaped similar to that.
Is it being painted? Is it being, I guess it's being power washed, whatever, because it's really,
Sorry, so a lot of these, I'm not sure what these are called, but here is very rotted all around here. So our intention is, I like these tongue and groove things here, so our objective is to maintain those, but there's a lot of rot underneath where the roof is all along here and in the back.
It's not really a dental molding, it's like a coral.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. yes, that's what a lot of the rot is
Yeah,
around
and
there.
obviously the applicant can't keep rot, so it will be obviously swapped out for what is available to match the character of the home, obviously without compromising the safety or integrity of the building.
And Mike, you recognize
As
that.
close as possible.
You recognize,
Right.
Yes.
and you recognize that, in fact, that we're gonna make this, on these two sides especially, we're gonna make this look like as close as we can to the current, historical look.
Yeah, I also see you're rebuilding the stairs, I guess the portion in the rear that's fallen down.
Correct.
What are you rebuilding it with? What, is it in kind, is it, you know?
I'm sure we're gonna do a pressure treated structure, which won't be seen, and then we'll use a composite decking, and then we haven't designed or figured out which colonial railing, because there's no other exterior railings on this. That is tucked in behind there, so we're probably gonna use a colonial balusters.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you. Anything else? Seeing none, is there anyone here from the public who would like to question what they've just heard? Seeing no one, we close the meeting into the public. And Counselor, back to you.
Thank you. And actually, Mr. Fox will now come up again in his land use planner hat and offer testimony regarding the variances that are being requested. And I believe there was a comment in the report from the planner regarding the D1 versus D3. Regarding the, whether this could be considered a garden of hardship. We were only given this report this morning, so we spoke, myself and Mr. Fox and Mr. Stewart spoke, and we're gonna defer to the board how we want to proceed, but we are prepared to offer testimony for both.
And to just give the board a quick understanding of the differences, and the D1 being a true use variance, so we have to show you that this use should be permitted in this area. And a D3 would say that, no, we accept the fact that use is here, and that we just have to make sure that it essentially doesn't exacerbate any difficulties and some other requirements. But the reason is because your definition of garden apartment says that you have, I don't memorize, but it says that you have each unit is one level and is accessed from the exterior or through a center hallway or stair.
Yes, I
And we have one unit on the second floor. We have one unit on the second floor, which, as I testified to, is a 2-level unit. So it doesn't exactly fit that capacity, and it was suggested in the planner's report that you make that decision if that makes it not a garden apartment.
Yes.
I think we're accepting of the fact that it may not be, but
And you're ready to go with the D1?
Yes.
So that's probably the wisest move. Right, Rachel?
D1.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, great, so, before we get into the D1, can you we please address the C variances, first, just because those are
easy
the technical variances, the bulk variances. As Mr. Stewart mentioned in his prior testimony, there are some pre-existing non-conforming conditions as well as new variances that are being requested. We are seeking essentially a bulk variance for the side yard and front yard for the parking.
That's front yard, right, for parking. Well, yeah, yes, so we have a couple of, we have a number of existing non-conforming, and, those are driven by maintaining the pre-existing historic home and its setbacks. So we're maintaining that. There's no intention to exacerbate those setbacks, and obviously we can't improve it without taking that portion of the building. And one of the main reasons for asking for these parking variances, kind of squeezing the parking in the rear, is, and I have it for other reasons also, was because in order to make a conforming parking lot on this lot, we would have to create a parking lot in the front yard. And we did not feel that that was in the best interest of the overall development of this property. And so the backyard, our hardship there is in fact that the area is too narrow. It was left on a previous subdivision from the previous owners and the previous applications here, left it where it's created a hardship on us to be able to conform to all those dimensions. Mr. Stewart talked about 20 foot width, 20 foot depth on the parking space, although we do have an 18+2. So the real reason is because we want to preserve the historical character, the size, shape, and topography of the lot as is allowed by C1 variance. And with those changes to the parking and the C variance that we requested, there's no negative impact to the neighbors. Because where our parking is, it's adjacent to their parking. So it's not like we're going to be next to their building. It's adjacent to their parking. We have the entrance off Mill Lane. We don't have an entrance off of Main Street. So there's no impact, there's no negative impact to the zone plan also because of the unique nature of this property and our saving it. That's my thoughts on the C variance.
If I can just interject before you read the Cs, because I do think you have one for lot coverage as well. Can you just talk a little bit about the increase in lot coverage and your testimony on that as well?
Yes, so lot coverage, again, because of the size, shape of the lot. We have an undersized lot, so even to create the amount of parking that's necessary to develop this property and to develop it safely, we felt that was a hardship in developing it, and we're remedying that by providing drainage, stormwater drainage design. Apparently that's going to be somewhat over the required 2.5 inches. Okay, I'm prepared to go to C first. I think we did that.
Is there any other questions regarding the C variances? No, okay. So then we can move on to the D1 use variance.
Yes. Okay, ready with the uses.
I actually, perhaps out of ignorance, are all of the C variances generated by pre-existing non-conformities, or is there new C variance relief?
There's new C variance relief for the lot coverage, as was mentioned, and for they are only parking variances.
Parking,
All right, they're only parking variances, but I believe it's lot coverage, it's distance to property line, although we've made it better, as Mr. Stewart testified. I think his number for 4.9 to 6.6 or somewhere in there, but he's done that. And visual screening, I think he testified what we provided. I'm not sure if it meets your ordinance, but that would be the only new parking areas and lot coverage.
And lot coverage is already deficient, but you're improving it or worsening it?
No, the lot coverage we are worsening.
Okay.
As Mr. Stewart testified, we're worsening that because that was the only way to get parking to work in there. And he also testified on the design waivers, where instead of 24 foot wide, it's 20 foot wide out. And it's items like that make less lot coverage. So we've attempted to keep the lot coverage to a minimum.
The parking spaces are undersized at 9 by 18 then as well?
They are officially undersized, but it has testified to have 2 foot overhang over the sidewalk. But yes, that would be a part of the.
Thank you.
Yes. So I wanted to say that the development of this project is not really a substantial departure from your master plan and your zoning ordinance, because in your master plan and in your zoning ordinance, it does represent and contemplate that residential could be in the zone and on the site. It does say the residential should be single family or townhouses as a conditional use, but it does recognize in fact that residential is acceptable here. There is residential multifamily immediately next door in the Sacred Heart School, and then there's also multifamily directly across the street. We think that this also kind of creates a buffer between downtown and any other single family. But right along the East Main Street, it's all a mixture of businesses and multifamily and such, so we think it blends in perfectly. Also to be used as residential use, because it was a residential use previously. It was a convent. So the convent, that fits in with the residential use group in the building code. And that was, and I'm saying that this is an example of adaptive reuse and actually good planning. So that's the plan. Now that the building is on a separate lot from previously when it was with the Sacred Heart School and all of that has been separated, I believe that this use that we're proposing to you is really the only use that is that makes sense in this area. In order for a business use to be able to go in and utilize this lot, according to your ordinance, you have to provide a significant amount of parking. I believe that 15 to 20 spaces would be required to make this into a business use. And the only way to get a parking lot such as that and be able to use it as a business and have street frontage accessibility is to build a parking lot in the front lawn of that, and I believe that was a negative. So I believe that makes it a positive as far as developing this in that method. And this adaptive reuse, residences, we have access to transportation. It's close to the downtown. The site's attractive because it's walkability, right? We go to the bus stops through town, and this is a really walkable site. The proposed use, although it's only 4 units, we'd like to say that anytime we increase residents or increase 24-hour occupancy, that we revitalize downtown. We have people to be able to do business downtown. And I think this is, as I stated before, it's compatible with surrounding uses. I think from the land use law, we have to meet the purposes of zoning to be able to show you that. And I believe that we meet letters A, G, and I. And this is A is, as you've heard many times before, is to promote the health, safety, morals, and the general welfare of the municipality, the neighborhood. And I think we do that with our making this stating that this is going to maintain the historical character. That's really where we're making the general welfare of the community first. G, sufficient space with a location of a variety of residential uses, and the need. There's obviously a need. It was testified to by the owners. Need for rental units, and this provides that need. And also to promote a desirable visual environment, and by maintaining the front lawn, not doing other aspects of the negative, we created a positive criteria to letter A. There is no negative impact, I believe, to any adjacent properties. I mentioned before, there's apartments immediately next door, apartments across the street. And again, trying to do that to save the aesthetics of that. There's no negative impact to the zone plan, because it does meet some of the goals of your master plan. Goal number 1 seeks to preserve the historic nature of the community. That's right out of your master plan. And goal number 8 seems to redefine acceptable and prohibited uses. And I think this, this is such a small difference from that, from the garden apartment that we talked about that is a definition. I think it's a de minimis difference. So I really think that your master plan recognized that this type of unit is allowed in the area. And goal number 10, limits densities, and our density is below the, we don't have a variance for that, our density is below what's allowed. And goal number 11, recognizes the historical character of the borough center. And although we're not in the borough center, I looked at the map and we're right next to it, it was right down to us. We're not in the center, but we are right next to that borough center, so visually we are part of that, and by saving the Stephen Jackson house, I think that we've made sure that there's no negative impact with this development.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fox.
Any questions on the testimony we just heard? Seeing none, once again, we'll open the meeting to public, and seeing no one, we close the meeting to the public. And back to you, Counselor.
Thank you so much. So that actually does conclude our testimonies for the evening. I would like to wrap things up essentially by just stating very simply that both forms, at least regarding the MLUL, both forms of relief sought by the applicant, the C variance is needed and the D variance is needed, advance the MLUL, and the deviations requested will substantially outweigh any detriment. Not to be redundant, but I do have a few bullet points that I would like to just point out in regards to the MLUL. As Mr. Fox said, the application enhances the safety and general welfare of the municipality by providing new housing in the center of the borough. The application provides, in our opinion, adequate light, air, and open space because we are not expanding the footprint any more than is necessary, and using the existing building to optimize living space while preserving the grounds. The application promotes the establishment of appropriate population densities, as Mr. Fox just testified, and the application promotes a desirable visual environment. And it should be noted that there is a serious housing shortage in this state, and I can attest to that as an attorney who does a tremendous amount of real estate and landlord-tenant, that there is a housing crisis, and housing is needed throughout the state, and this is an excellent use of the property while maintaining the colonial charm and character. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. And one final time, is there anyone here from the public that would like to testify or give evidence to what is going on? Again, seeing no one, we close the meeting to the public. And now we need a motion from the board.
Question, I have a question.
Oh, sure.
If I can get some clarity on the lighting on the front walkway. I know you said there was gonna be something that, I know the lights that you have in the building are going to turn off after a certain point, but where were you going to put lighting along the front of the building if somebody was to come from a handicap spot into the front of the building at night?
Yes, Mr. Stewart alluded to it, mentioned it quickly, but we will have lighting in the front porch, up underneath, up in the roof looking down there, and at our doorways, probably at the front door here, which we actually show a fixture. We do show a fixture in the front, at the doorway in the front and a doorway in the back. We're going to have a colonial residential type fixture in those two locations. And then along the handicap ramp, we discussed it, and he mentioned providing a series of bollards. Bollards meaning
low-level lighting.
Some low-level lighting, a number of them, so that it's safe.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mark? No? Okay, someone willing to make a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Mr. Hopper.
So we're approving this, for the record, we're approving the D1, assuming that this generally meets the criteria of a garden apartment, the D1, and the C approval because there's existing non-conforming and the impermeable coverage is new to accommodate parking.
And those are both variances.
Right, perfect, okay. All right, so we have Happy. Following conditions, the deed restriction that previously existed will be continued, and that, I'll just paraphrase, I'll grab the language from somewhere else, but the prior deed restriction applies to the exterior view of the building from the street, that it would remain essentially as it appears today, and restoration would be done using modern materials, giving the old-time look, I'll say. That includes corbels, fenestration, columns, the color, and the chimneys will remain on the roof even though fireplaces are inactive. They don't have to do anything, they just have to be there. Another deed restriction would be for the dry well that's gonna be used to manage that water
Ms.
runoff.
Koch, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm just gonna take the verbiage, if you don't mind, from the previous resolution.
Yes.
Specifically regarding, the deed restriction on the outside of the house. It simply says the deed shall be recorded with the Morris County Clerk, providing the exterior appearance of the Stephen Jackson house shall be preserved.
Perfect. Okay, one additional deed restriction, and that's of the dry well for the roof water runoff, that there will be a maintenance plan for that, and it will be sized in accordance with the advice of the board professionals. That the replacement of the trees, based on that A1 diagram, the illustration, the color illustration on the front, that the trees are gonna be flowering maybe dogwoods, not sassafras, because of the look and the size of the, would be better. Let's see, our water and sewer service will be upgraded to current standards and will be permitted. Mail and package delivery will be located in or near the foyer. Shielding from the street of any electrical meters that face the street will have to take place. And the garage parking and adjoining spaces will be dictated by lease. I think that's all.
They will be tandem.
Right, tandem and a lease, right, exactly. But I just wanna make sure that the parking spaces will be identified based on the lease, so it's very clear which unit gets to use the garage and the adjoining
Yes, the
spot.
units will have a sign.
Okay, okay. That's it.
Thank you. The motion maker and
I
secretary.
just had one comment to add, that the condition should be added that the bollard lighting will be added to the walkway only because that was not explicitly put on the current plan, so I'll make sure that that's included. Otherwise, I think, Barbara.
You think that needs to be in the resolution or just in your engineering
It's
review
not,
for
it's,
compliance?
it's not in my engineering review, so it should be in the
No,
resolution.
no, but, okay.
Yeah, put it in the
So
resolution.
bollard lighting,
To be provided on the walkway as testified.
okay.
Handicap walkway, 'cause that's just
Walkway to the front.
All
door.
walkways or front?
Front.
Walkway to the front door.
Handicap ramp walkway. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's fine with the motion maker and seconder?
Yes.
Do we have any other discussion on the motion? May we have a roll call vote, please?
Joyce Fryerman,
Yes.
Ron Hammond,
Yes.
Bill Huffler,
Yes.
Mark Covert,
Yes.
Barbara Koch,
Yes.
Bob Schaefer,
Yes.
Kim Rose,
Yes.
Sharon Blair.
Yes. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll be back.
You also. Yep, we have one piece of business left. You should have a copy of a letter from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Freshwater Wetlands. This refers to the Able Energy property. So you can read it at your leisure, but I guess that means something may be stirring over there.
I believe this is just the required notification for a letter of interpretation, which is an application to the DEP to confirm the limits of the freshwater wetlands on the property. So they made that application to the DEP to confirm those limits, so any subsequent work would have to comply with all the freshwater wetlands and any FHA flood hazard area requirements that are on that property. They have both, so.
And that property is right on the corner of Woodland Avenue?
Woodland and Route 46,
That's
adjacent
where the
to.
veterinary clinic is.
That is correct, just
Okay, thank you.
adjacent.
Do we have to do anything with this guy's appeal, if there's anything we have to do, or?
I think the borough's hoping to do do something with that property as a redevelopment area.
Yeah, and I've heard that they're trying to redevelop it in there. There's a lot of environmental issues, wouldn't surprise me. Any further business that has to come before the board tonight?
Next meeting is?
28th, and then the 29th.
So we have 2 nights in a row. 28th and 29th. The 28th, we kind of got hoodwinked into doing.
No, 28th is over.
Oh, that's right, 28th is gold, they're giving us,
I'll have to have someone,
There are no hearings.
someone will be sitting here to
It
cover
was
for
gonna be
me.
then, but they finished tonight.
I cannot be there. Do I need to send someone or?
I don't believe so, no, we're just receiving reports from our planner.
Yes,
don't
I was
need me.
told this.
Engineering will be.
Okay, good, that's safe.
But you might,
Yeah, the
but the
29th
next,
is a real meeting.
but the next day you do.
Yeah, the 28th is the
28th is
presentation
Golda.
by Golda.
Right.
For
But
what?
then the 29th is,
What is she reporting?
It's a, area of
housing
Yeah.
and then
It's
some.
the
There's
We
a-
can't do them on the same night?
We can't do them, yeah.
Just wondering.
What was the question, Joyce?
Can it be
What
done the
was she
next
going
night?
to be presenting? Again, what she presenting?
I think it's master plan amendments or,
It's the fourth round housing plan, so the borough's.
toward
Oh, affordable housing?
fair share
That's
plan.
stuff you throw it up there.
No, that'll be a while.
But
That'll
then
be
the
too
next
long
one
to
is
put
an
it to the
appeal.
next night.
It's an appeal to the zoning officer.
This is the,
And Tim Braden will be here.
so we can't do those two things on the same night?
I'm sorry.
Probably not.
No. Okay.
And that's-
So the 29th is special.
And the appeal, yeah, yes, because we had to squeeze it in because he needed it before June or something.
Yeah, the attorney for the appellant,
Oh,
a
that's
little
fine. I just
testy
didn't
with
know
us and
my
wanted a hearing before June, so.
Yeah, so we couldn't put him in his June, we were gonna put him in the June meeting and he goes, oh no, it has to be.
Yeah,
July 1st, it had to be within 120 days, and it would have been, but they sent us a letter asking us to please do it earlier.
they threatened litigation. I mean, I don't think they'd prevail, but what's the point of spending the money litigating it when we can just have the additional meeting?
And now I can't change the date because they published it.
We're still public, yeah.
Okay.
But that's basically why we have 2 meetings. And we maybe could have squeezed it into one, but it would have been a long night, probably. And we also felt that this case may have spilled over into the next night.
Yeah.
And do we have anything scheduled for June so far?
Yes,
Okay.
June 3rd too, yes.
Yeah.
We have two.
Wow.
We have homeowners and we have Milco coming back for a carry.
Oh, no.
Oh, well,
Uh-huh.
Yep.
So for the 1st of June, yes.
June 3rd?
Yeah, and then we have 3 other applications on their way.
Colleen,
We're very busy.
I'll ask you to publish a notice of special meeting for the 29th. The applicant still has to do the regular notice,
Okay, I'll do.
the newspaper and the 200-foot service.
Okay.
But if you just, because it is a special meeting of this
Do
board,
you want it in 2 papers? 2 papers, right? For
just
special?
one, just a legal, whichever your, one of the legal notice, legal
Okay.
newspapers.
And we have
And then-
June 3rd?
Excuse me, and then on the website as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we only have one meeting scheduled so far for June 3rd?
Unless Milco gets carried again. I'm trying to only have one a month, but we're so busy.
I thought we were, no, look, Corolla, you should not come back, did he?
That's okay, we had several months where we were in here all.
No, he's not getting a special meeting in June.
If Milco doesn't have everything that we told him to have,
He'll have to carry. We'll just have to
We're
carry.
gonna carry him to the next month, we're not gonna have a staff special on him, because he's been
But the
serving us
thing
around
is,
forever.
it's a litigation, so I don't know how that,
You
with
know,
the zoning officer.
I don't understand how it's working. It seems strange to me because
The judges let
Why-
it go until it comes before this.
I
meeting.
found all the paperwork on him previous, 5 years.
Oh, yeah, it's a long time.
And the pictures of, all the
Yeah.
pictures of him.
yes, I know.
And the saying that he didn't, well, never mind. we can't-
We know, there's no discussion about
Yeah, there's no
that.
discussion.
So is there anything else to come before the board? We all have our dates in our phones and our calendars.
I'd like to make a motion. to
Hopefully
close.
we have a quorum for Golda. We need that.
very much. I will adjourn the meeting.
Second.
The recording will be